Hello and welcome to We Will Talk About It, the Supernatural Rewatch podcast where we watch one episode every week, spoiler free. I'm Megan.
I'm Kat.
And this week we are watching season 1, episode 19, Provenance.
Ooh. I'm not going to say it,
Mm.
but I didn't forget about this episode.
Okay.
But I thought this was like season 3. Obviously not.
No.
But I do remember this episode because what happens in this episode is why I don't want children.
I feel like what happened in this episode doesn't tend to happen in the real world.
Yeah, correct. I think it's more what we find out. We will talk about it.
We'll talk about it.
But I'll bring it up. So everyone just pop a pin in it. Yeah. I'll flag it when we get there. All right. When we get to that particular part of the track, I'll be like, hey, I'm going to pause here for a second.
Yeah.
This is why.
Yeah.
So we'll roll with it. But yeah, this is a really good episode.
I really enjoyed this episode. So we've got Phil Segresha back on board directing. David Ehrman is writing it, who don't think wrote any other episodes, but yeah, he only wrote this one. But Phil Segresha's been
prominent,
has directed a couple of episodes at this point. But before we dive into it, I think we might want to give a bit of a rec for another podcast that we think you should listen to.
Sorry, guys, it's been a while because we're in Australia. And
yes.
We're not in Sydney. We're not in New South Wales.
We're in Brisbane, but
which is Queensland.
We have just come out of a lockdown.
Hence why we've been a bit patchy because we've been trying to navigate the waters, of what's happening around us and doing the right thing.
Yeah, and if anyone's listening to this podcast in like 5 years' time and it's like, well, remember when we had to keep going back into lockdown because of COVID?
That's our life.
Yeah,
currently.
We're out of COVID. We're out of lockdown now, but it was a pretty hard lockdown for us. Which
probably our first one that's been extended.
Yes, our first one that's been extended. Our first one that was kind of, we couldn't have people in our house at all. We had to stay kind of in our sort of council areas.
Yep.
So
within 10 kilometers. I don't know the
miles. Who knows?
We don't
probably some weird conversion where it's like 6.75258
divided
miles.
by 2 plus 2 cousins.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't understand. I don't understand metric. Wait, we are the metric.
We're metric.
What's the other one?
I don't know that it has a name because it doesn't have, because metric is like 10. Yeah. Because everything's in tens.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
Wow, someone's gonna.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, our new podcast shout out friends will probably tell us.
Yes,
and I'll be here for it.
Yes,
please don't read me to filth.
Anyway, yes. So this is, I guess, mildly spoilery because we're talking about an actor who hasn't been in the show yet, won't be in the show for a couple of seasons.
Yep.
But we're not going to talk about their character, I guess.
No, we're going to talk about the
actor rather than the actual character. So I'm not going to put a spoiler. I guess if you really don't want to know, you can skip.
Just skip ahead. We'll put a thing.
We'll put a thing, but like it's not like the last time where we were like really diving into lots of spoilery territory.
Yeah.
But I think it's worth mentioning because obviously we've talked a bunch of times about Aaron Mahnke, who does the incredible podcast Lore, as well as a bunch of other podcasts that are incredible. And this is his first fictional podcast. It's called Bridgewater, and it does star Misha Collins, who is an actor we will talk about later.
Oh, yes, we will.
At length. And I started listening. Have you started listening yet?
I haven't started listening yet. I'm one of those people, plot twist, I'm a binger. So... And I'm also Johnny come lately to a party.
Yes.
So I'm waiting for a couple episodes to bank. So then when my partner is out doing whatever he does in his free recreational time, whatever, I'm going to sit in the lounge room and just be like, I'm going to have a full visual moment and just be like, I'm in the room and I'm not drooling.
Yeah. So
is it great?
It's really good.
Oh.
It's really good. What I will say in kind of the vibe of it, and I don't want to give too much away because I think it's really fun to kind of go in, and you can obviously read the description of it if you just go to their like Instagram or Twitter or whatever. I think if you go to grimandmild.com, so that's grimandmild.com, that is the production company that Aaron Mahnke has, and that's where you can find all of the podcasts that are kind of on his docket. So it's on there. It's called Bridgewater. The vibe that I get from it, it's a little bit Twin Peaks.
Ooh.
It's also, and this is a bit more specifically an Australian reference, and it's a little bit, or it gives me a little bit of vibes of Picnic at Hanging Rock. The movie and the book, not necessarily the TV series.
Oh my God, I love that movie.
Just in terms of kind of, it's not that kind of really kind of floaty, unrealistic. Like if you haven't seen the movie Picnic at Hanging Rock by Peter Weir, it's from the 70s and it's very kind of, it's a very Australian movie in terms of this kind of dreamlike quality it has, and it's a little bit fantasy, which is in a lot of Australian cinema.
Oh yeah,
so it's not quite
70s.
it's not quite that, but it does that kind of element of like people just like wandering off into the woods and not being seen again and that sort of thing. But then it's also got that kind of Twin Peaksy, like Pacific Northwest, like there's something in the forest kind of vibe. So yeah, I've really enjoyed it. I've listened to the first 2 episodes. I would definitely recommend it if you like spooky, spooky things, if you like audio dramas, if you like Aaron Mahnke. We obviously love Aaron Mahnke with all our heart. He is a sweet baby Angle, and yeah.
Did you say Angle?
Yes.
Sorry, I was like...
And yes, I did say sweet baby Angle. It's simultaneously kind of an in-joke for a podcast, My Favorite Murder, and it's also a little bit of a reference to Trixie and Cartier, who are 2 drag queens that we love.
Yes. All right. Should we get into this?
Let's get into this episode. So we're in kind of upstate New York, I guess. The state, not New York, the city. And we've got some attractive rich people buying a ugly painting because they got drunk at a estate sale.
He was also wearing a very ugly bow tie. So, I mean, it fucking tracks, but also the house.
Yes. So I do think that it was a charity auction, sorry, not an estate sale. But I do think that's kind of funny. Many, many moons ago, I did work at the Trash and Treasure for my primary school fair when I was a teenager.
Yep.
For anyone who, I guess Trash and Treasure might be a uniquely Australian thing, but it's kind of like everyone brings in, you know,
like a boot sale,
or like a what's it called? Oh, like a garage sale,
yeah,
but it's on like a big scale, and it's to raise money for like the school. And I ran the record booth because this was kind of before records were cool all over again. And so we used to get a lot of really good records in, like original pressings of Dark Side of the Moon and stuff like that.
Wow.
But that year was the first year that they decided to have a beer garden at the fair.
Oh.
And this couple came up, these parents obviously of kids at the school, and bought an entire box of classical music records because they were wasted. And they thought it was so funny that they had given me $50 for like Chopin and Handel and like Mozart and Beethoven.
Chopin.
So they came and they bought a whole bunch of classical records.
I just love it.
And this was before record players were like cool again. Like this was the like early this was probably around when this episode came out. And so relatable content, obviously on a slightly lower scale than how much they probably paid for this. Also, terrifying painting.
Very creepy.
They're drunk and being sexy, which not
around a very, very unsettling
painting. So they decide to go to bed to fuck, essentially.
Yeah, I was going,
they get real horny.
Because they bought a painting. And
I think because they were drunk.
Oh, look, yeah. And they're probably laughing at the fact that they bought some families.
Some stupid painting.
Some stupid painting that was probably some stupid amount.
Yes. And so this bit I didn't really like. I don't think it was particularly effective. It's not very scary because you just see like what we presume is the father figure in the painting. It is like he's just moving in the painting.
Yeah, I mean,
I prefer the like look away, look back and it's moved in terms of like getting that like shock factor.
Yeah.
And I feel like this was like a little anticlimactic because you just see this painting move.
Yeah, look, I'm with you on that one. And I mean, also, I think for me the scary thing is like, why is this father just really like glaring at the daughter? Like that was, for me, that was more the, not scary, but the more intense parts. Like when you see portraits, especially from a certain era, they are facing forward and they look like it's a prison photo or like a passport photo. But this intense of just like, who would, like, when I saw this today, because I watched this episode today, my brain's like, why would an artist draw and paint someone staring at their child like that?
Yeah.
And I think that's the more like, that's interesting. Like that makes you think versus him just like shaking his head and turning kind of thing.
Yeah. She goes upstairs. She gets all ready. She's in like sexy lingerie carrying a single candle, also, which made me laugh so hard.
Also, season 1 dark filter is back.
Yes.
Because I could not see a fucking thing.
But I just love the idea that she didn't put any lamps on or lights on. She just had a single candle that she was dramatically carried. Yeah. And I was like, this is such a drunk, sexy idea. Oh, yeah. Where you were like, that candle that's in your bathroom that you've never lit in your life because someone gave it to you for Christmas and you just put it in the bathroom because
and
it
has
looks
some
nice.
weird scent like sandalwood and like
Vanilla.
bergamot. Yeah.
And you're just like, and I bet she was just like taking her makeup off or whatever. And she was just like, it's going to be really sexy if I just like carry this candle in. And it's
But
like
also,
candle lit. That is such a drunk idea.
It's such a drunk idea.
So then he comes upstairs. She sort of hears something at the door and then he's coming upstairs and he is sort of getting into bed and he's like, oh, turn on a light. And
I
then
can't see anything.
I can't see anything. But obviously she had a sexy candle. So what blew out the sexy candle? And he puts his hand in something. He's like, oh, did you spill something? He turns it and turns the light on and she's had her throat slashed.
Yeah,
blood everywhere. It's very intense and sort of
And you don't hear her scream.
No, so it must have been very quick and very sharp knife. But it's also like a very intense kind of tableau of a dead person. Like it's very gory.
It is very gory and she is playing dead very well.
Yes, yeah, and they did a really good job. Again, the VFX makeup looks incredible.
Oh, yeah. Especially for a season 1 budget.
Yeah, so he walks in, he sees his wife, girlfriend, whatever, is dead, and then he gets attacked by something mysterious, and then that's the cold open, and we cut now to kind of a cool-looking bar.
Yeah, it's a very 2000s bar.
Very 2000s bar, band starting to play. I was like, this is the kind of bar that I would have been going to 100%.
100%.
Dean is chatting up a girl with the bumpedest of bumped fringes. Such 2000s hairdo. Loved it.
And she's wearing the handkerchief with the Monty's cross over the cleavage. And he's got his handy dandy flip phone.
Yep.
And I love that the line is that Brandy with a Y? And
or an I. And I was like,
I was just like, there was a moment I was just like, oh, okay, I'm back to being Dina bro. I've now hopped off the Dean is fucking hot and I would do him, and I've got off the station and I've crossed over to the platform where it's we're now bros again.
Yeah.
Because at that moment I was like, and I love that Sam is always at a table by himself doing the needful, pushing the narrative further. Like, we need to find Dad again and we need to meet up.
Well, I don't think they're even looking for Dad at this point. They're like trying to find a case.
That's right. They're trying to find a case, but, you know, overarching, he's pushing towards the actual goal of the season. And Dean's just like, fuck that noise. I'm going to have fun.
Yes. And so he goes up to Sam and he's like, I think we should have some shore leave, you know, so we can
be producers, apparently.
Well, yeah. So I just want to say officially that pretending to be someone else in order to get sex is a form of sexual trespassing.
It is certainly.
If you don't talk about the job that you do because you're not allowed to, or it's maybe something that's not very fun to discuss when you meet a person,
then
that's cool.
Fine. That's fine.
But if you're actively pretending to be something you're not in order to have sex with someone, that is a form of sexual trespassing. Dean, I'm not here for it, okay?
No.
Ew.
Also, so I love that when Sam's trying to, you know, call Dean over and just be like, yo, come on, let's, you know, think with your upstairs brain, not your weenus, get back to the table. And I love that he comes back and, you know, Sam doing the hard hitting going, hey, there's this case. And look, I have to get here. And the reason why I'm taking over the narrative just right now is because I must talk about it for at least an hour.
Okay.
I'm not going to.
Okay.
But I might. We've got Dad's journal still. I don't know why we have unclear, because I realized, why do we have this? We have seen Dad. Look, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Not important. I'm asking the questions no one has ever asked or thought.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Dad's journal doesn't belong to Dad anymore.
Yeah,
like he doesn't need it.
True.
Otherwise he wouldn't have left it behind.
Yeah. It's very true. The fucking handwriting in that notebook, we see, because Sam is showing Dean like, hey, this is. We're in close to the town.
No, keep going.
I did say Sam, right?
Yeah. No. That's not what I'm spelling at. Get your point.
News article. Hey, we're close to this town. Hey, things are like, there seems to be a bit of a thread. No one's really put together because there's been gaps in like these similar attacks. But here's Dad's handwriting. His handwriting is gorgeous. Yeah, you knew I was going there, didn't you?
Well, it's just because a certain character many seasons later comments upon how beautiful John's handwriting is. So yes, so Sam has found a case, the couple that we saw in the cold open. He said that there's been a lot of murders all in that same area over, you know, a really, really long time span. So
yeah, I'd say nearly not 100 years because it starts off in I think like 1910, 1912, and it's 2005, so nearly 100, like 90-ish years. This has been happening, not every year, but just there's big chunks of time. Like I think it's like 1912, 1940 something, 1970. Maybe now, there's not a lot, but because of the like huge gaps, no one's really pieced it together. But they are all similar in the way that they have died.
Yes. So we cut to the next day. Sam is investigating the house where this occurred. Dean is nursing a hangover in the most early 2000s sunglasses that I've ever seen. Aggressively ugly glasses.
Oh yeah, they're not speed glasses, not speed dealer glasses,
but they're very close.
They're very close.
So Sam comes back and he says the house is actually completely cleared out.
Yeah.
And we now cut to an estate sale where the belongings are being sold.
But also, I love how when we get there, we're panning over very rich cars. Did you notice one of the license plates? What it was called? It was called the Crip.
Yes, actually, I do have that in my little
the
notes.
Crip. I was like, holy shit, one of the, because it goes obviously very fancy, you know, old antique rich cars. I say in inverted commas. And one of the license plates was the Crip, and I was like, hang on. What?
Yeah. So almost definitely a little bit of a reference to our boy, Eric Kripke.
Exactly. Because it's spelled not Crip as in the actual the actual spelling, but spelled as in like Kripke.
Yeah, so with a K.
With a K. Exactly.
Yeah. So they go into this estate sale. Dean's obviously got the Moxie turned up to 11, but this is not a place where that works. You know, he's like grabbing something to eat.
Literally what I said. Like, this is the first time Dean's Moxie and suave and like he's, you know, magic endless bag of trickery does not work. Like, clearly the answer to rebuff Dean's advances is money. Because I was
and I actually I was thinking about this a little more deeply, and I don't think that the writer necessarily had this much of a thought process, but I do think it's kind of interesting that the kind of social element of the fact that his Moxie doesn't work here. We're in this kind of wealthy place where there's lots of standards that he doesn't understand or doesn't care about. Like, I'm not sure that the writer necessarily gave that much thought, but I did think it was very interesting that this is a place he's not naturally able to use his Moxie in and not naturally able to, like,
it's the first time I've noticed
figure, like, you know, get people talking, because this is not a world that he is comfortable in, and this isn't a world that he, you know, quote unquote has any right to be in. Not maybe from his perspective, but from the perspective of the people around him.
Who are trying to tell him to get out. I do love that. And I feel that, and again, I kind of read into it a little bit. I'm like, that's this episode, like in this particular scene, he is stuffing his face, which is on brand for Dean.
Yes.
But I feel like it's like, again, I'm reading more into this, like, it's more of an insecurity thing because he's always eating. In previous where he has been eating, it's kind of just been like a one-off piece.
Yeah.
He's eating several million things.
Yeah. So I just thought, you know, again, I think we're both reading more into it than maybe the writer gave. Like, it was more definitely done as like a joke. You know, we're reading more into this, but I do think it's, you know, there's always unintentional stuff in the stuff that they do intentionally. Like, they obviously wanted to play it as a bit of a joke, but like underneath that, there's reasons that there's a joke. It's a joke.
Yeah,
you know, there's reasons why it's like, you know, funny that he doesn't, that he calls this guy a waiter and like all that sort of stuff.
I always say a joke and a lie come from a place of truth.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, from like a grain. And I feel like it's very much the social economic play here. And it's very obvious because what this old man is the curator?
I guess.
Curator, he's in a very he's essentially a hop, skip and a jump from wearing tops and tail.
Yeah, exactly.
Dean's wearing on brand leather jacket and he's stuffing his face asking for champagne. He says champagne. I just say champagne.
Yeah.
Because it could be champagne, probably is, but I like the word champagne better.
Yeah.
But it's very much but I did enjoy that he was just eating all the food.
Yeah, exactly.
On brand.
Which is on brand, and we've kind of talked about that, about sort of like that was an accident on the part of Jensen that became part of his kind of shtick as Dean.
Yeah.
So they encounter this man who Dean mistakes for a waiter and in reality is the curator or whatever you want to call them of this estate sale. Sam kind of takes over because, again, Sam went to Harvard, which is a prestigious, incredibly fancy pants university, and he maybe is a little more familiar with this world that exists.
Head, when Sam didn't use the bag of tricks.
Yeah.
He just used his knowledge of where he has
Mm-hmm.
gone to school. I feel Jess came from not a rich family, but she was more like above middle class.
Yeah.
And I feel that, and I mean, again, this is me writing a narrative that no one asked for, but
No,
I'm doing
I think I agree with that because I think, like, I mean, we're making a lot of assumptions about America that's based on television and movies that we've watched, but like the impression I've always got of Harvard is that it's exclusive because of the price.
Yes.
And it's the rare person like Sam who has the ability to get in on, I assume, scholarships.
And also by being brilliant, by being very, a very not educated, because we'll talk about it in later seasons. But a person who has the natural ability to be smart.
Yeah, and so that's, the barrier for a lot of people is the fact that it costs a lot of money. So we could be wrong about that. This is based on, like, watching too much Legally Blonde, essentially.
Yeah, pretty much.
And they go and they look at a painting. I think they're actually looking at the painting from the cold open.
Yep.
And we meet Sarah, who is actually the daughter of the man we met in the previous scene who owns this estate place, this estate sale place.
Yep.
And she's gorgeous. Like, this actress, she is stunning.
Oh, yeah, she is very pretty. She also has very white teeth.
Yes, I actually noticed, because obviously they all have white teeth because they're professional actors and that's kind of a thing. They don't have stained brown teeth like yours truly. But, like, I definitely did notice the
smiling. Obviously, we'll talk about it later in the episode where Sam and Sarah are smiling at each other.
Yes.
And I'm like, there's a lot of white teeth in this room.
Yeah.
And I got one of them.
No. So it's the actress is Taylor Cole. So that's the actress that plays Sarah. And yeah, she's just like she's so beautiful. And for the early 2000s, she doesn't have the pencil thin eyebrows, which is nice because it looks really good on her. They've done her makeup really beautifully. It's like she's obviously wearing makeup because she's in this professional position, but it doesn't look
classic hairstyle as well.
Yeah.
It's, she's wearing a low bun with some soft curls, not Shirley Temple up to your eyeball curls.
Yeah.
It's very soft.
Yes.
It went soft. I will say the makeup artist did go hard and heavy on that lip gloss.
Yes, but we all did in 2005.
Oh, yeah. It was very layered, and I was like, this is very shiny.
If it wasn't like literally sticky, it wasn't enough in this era.
I'm glad when she was speaking, she wasn't having the tacky and you.
Yeah. And so Sam, she comes downstairs, she makes some comment about the type of painting it is, and Sam kind of rebuffs her of like
and corrects her,
but it was like, you knew that, like you were trying to test me, and it's all very like kind of flirty, fun, but not
educational flirty.
Yes, and it's fun to see, like, because I feel like obviously originally with Meg in Scarecrow they had this like flirty, but it was very like
dangerous.
Yes, whereas this one you could tell Sam was like with someone who was
of his educational or like intelligence
and his maybe his type as well, someone he would date if he was still at Harvard and if he
100%.
wasn't with and he wasn't with Jess. So I really, really liked that. But then her dad turns up and kicks them out because he's like, yeah, you weren't on the guest list. Get the fuck out.
Yeah. But obviously not saying, get out, mate. It's please leave.
Yes, we're going to have to ask you to leave.
Can you please leave without making a scene?
Obviously, they're deciding to stay around. They're wanting to investigate.
Yeah. Oh, God, this hotel room.
This is why I was watching something about it, because this hotel, disco hotel room, this isn't the first one, but this is the start of something that carries on throughout the series. This isn't a spoiler, which is like insane motel rooms, which with like aggressive themes. And
this is very millennium.
It's so disco, and I love it.
And millennium. There's a lot of textures. There's a lot of clashing of patterns. But also, I love how they walk into that room and they just like, it's obviously hurting their
disco
eyeballs.
Music is playing for one, which made me laugh. Like and generic disco music.
I love that the Do Not Disturb sign is a guy doing like.
It's like an Elvis.
Yeah, Elvis like.
Or even Saturday Night Fever is
Saturday Night Fever. John Travolta like staying alive. We're busy discoing. And they just sort of go, they just collectively just go, huh.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh God, this is burning my eyeballs. There's circles, there's tech. It was like, remember the 90s and you'd get the books with the magic eyes? It was giving me that.
So can I talk about the motel rooms? Because it's actually...
is it a real hotel room?
No. So all of this is on the backlot. All of this is on their stage. But this was... So Jerry, I might be saying your surname wrong, and I'm so sorry. Jerry Wanek or Wanek? I'm not sure. I've heard other people say it in interviews, and I just don't think my Australian accent can make that sound.
Yeah, cool.
So I think it's Wanek. So Jerry Wanek was the production designer for the 15 seasons of Supernatural.
Wow.
So he was there from day one to the very last day. He actually recently released a book, which is all behind the scenes photos that he's taken over the last 15 years.
We need to get this book.
If I can get my hands on it, if I can figure out how to get it, because it was like finite copies and stuff like that. But it's like a massive coffee table book. It's like 400 pages long. It's beautiful. And it's just all behind the scenes and production stuff. But obviously for something like Supernatural, he, it's a bit confined in what he can do.
Yep.
He's dressing for the story, and he's dressing
masculine.
Very masculine, and he's dressing for the story. He's dressing for horror, which is very kind of dark and like all of that sort of stuff. And so where he was allowed to play was the motel rooms. So this was actually him getting a little creative. So this isn't the first one. 2 episodes ago, there was one that was like hunting themed. So if you go back and watch it, and this isn't the last time, but yeah, it's not just like, it's entirely intentional. It's entirely something that he did to have fun on this set and kind of come up with these kind of crazy ideas and
fun.
Yeah, and this is kind of that first little inkling that they're starting to evolve into something else, and something that is a little bit tongue-in-cheek and a little bit self-aware and a little bit campy.
Yep.
And like just the fact that they knew exactly what they were going for with this disco room. And they leaned into it in the terms of like they had disco music playing in the background, and they had that reaction that Sam and Dean are, where they're like, huh. Like they're not just being like, oh yeah, they're in this crazy room and we're not going to talk about it. They're just, our design team got a bit bored today. Like they leaned into it. And it's just, I just appreciate it, and I liked it. It was a bit of fun.
Oh, look, I enjoy what they were doing. And again, this is where, like you said, after all, you're starting to see that, again, it's not just Sam and Dean are the characters and that's it, and everyone else just plays second fiddle. Everything. Yeah. Everyone and everything around them in the Supernatural universe becomes part of them.
Yeah, like, and these people that are involved become part of it. Like Jerry Wanek being the production designer for 15 years on this show, and, designing stuff that we can't even talk about yet.
No.
That I'm very excited to talk about.
Oh, me too.
They decide that they need to do some more investigation.
Yep.
Dean has obviously picked up on this kind of flirty behavior that's happened between Sarah and Sam.
Dean is always here to fuck, that's why.
He is, but there's more to it in this case, and we'll talk about it. And he's like, I think you should ask Sarah out and get the provenances. So the provenances, in case you didn't pay attention in the show, tells the history of ownership. We need to find them to see if we can figure out which is the item that is causing all of the shenanigans.
Yeah, all of these murders.
And so Sam takes Dean out to dinner. He wishes.
I mean, go to the internet and I'm sure you'll find many a story on that.
You can Google if that's what you're interested in.
If that's what you are, we don't kink shame.
No, no. But Sam doesn't take Dean out to dinner.
No, he does not.
He takes Sarah out to dinner. Is this where you were like, wow, there's lots of white teeth in this scene?
Yeah, also this is where I was like, whoa, someone's got 6 layers of lip gloss and it's a lot. And yes, there's a lot of white teeth, but also this is where I realized that so as we've discovered in the where cats jumped off on trains, like was on I would do Dean, hopped off because of the brandy situation and also what he does for a living. Hopped onto I'm back on the Dan's my bro train. I then also hopped off the bro train of Sam because when he cheekily smiles and it's zoomed in, I literally like, whoa, young Sam smiling is doing something to me right now. And then I'm like, am I Johnny come lately to this party? Turns out yes. I just there was a point where I think it was that smile. I was like, oh.
Yeah. He's got a very cute smile. He's got little dimples.
Yeah, and I think it was the cheeky, flirtatious, but also a little bit sexy, sensual. And I was like, am I Johnny come lately? It turns out I'm very Johnny come lately to this party.
Yes. What I really like about it, when I was rewatching this episode, firstly, I really appreciate that Sarah is a woman.
Yeah.
She's a fully formed adult woman. She's educated.
She's had some trauma. She's had some adventures.
Yeah, she's she's a woman. And I actually was thinking about it. It's kind of really interesting that we know more about her than we know about Jess.
Yeah.
Like we know, we
Oh,
learn in this
dear.
episode that her mother passed away and that she
Yeah.
was really traumatized by this and found it really hard to get herself back out into the
Yeah.
world, but that she knew that her mum would want her to be happy, and so she's trying to get herself back out.
We got
Like-
a lot of information about her backstory up until this point.
Yeah.
Then we have it about Jess.
Yeah, we sort of we really can understand why Sam might be attracted to her. Like
Yeah.
she's very educated and she's very clever and she's, obviously absolutely stunning. Like absolutely a
And she
10
has
out
some
of 10
street smart- and
woman.
And she has some street smart.
Yeah, like later on in the episode
Also
we see
she-
she has a bit of moxie. Yeah, I just really appreciated that she had agency and that she was like she
Yes.
was a woman.
Yeah.
And I really appreciated that. So her and Sam obviously bond a ton and they're getting along really well. And we sort of cut to later that night and Sam comes back and he's got the provenances from her.
I love that Dean is also sharpening his knife on a sharpening stone.
Yes.
And also just dishing out sass like that. That's just his every night. Just like I'm sharpening my tools and my wares while throwing out some shade and sass.
Exactly. So they're looking at the provenances and they discover that this painting obviously has been owned by each of the people that has been marked in Dad's journal as having died. And so obviously this painting is the problem.
Is the content that is doing the thing.
So they go to destroy the painting. We get a kind of another like heist situation.
Yeah, kind of like a Mission Impossible style.
Yeah, I mean, not that dramatic, but
not that dramatic.
I was going to say more Ocean's 11.
Actually, true. Yeah, it's very budget heist.
Yeah, so they break in, they get the painting, they burn the painting. They're like, we're doing the art world a favor.
I love how they just cut it out of the
so
frame.
smart. So they burn the painting and we sort of cut back to where it's
in the
stored
storage?
in the estate place. This is where we're not wealthy enough to know any of these words. And we see it reappear. So that tells us that things are not done. Very cool, very creepy. Tells you that the story's not over.
Sharp too. It's like 30 seconds, you see it reappear and you're like, oh, snap.
So we then cut to the next morning and they're getting ready to leave and Dean's like, oh no, I lost my wallet. I must have dropped it yesterday. Sam's like, you fucking idiot.
You fucking moron.
So they go back. They're looking around. They obviously see Sarah and Dean reveals that he hadn't lost his wallet at all.
And here's $20 he owes you.
And here's $20 he owes Sam. And it was just all a ruse to get him to talk to Sarah again.
The most uncomfortable ruse ever. Oh, God.
I kind of liked it. I love... Like Dean was just like, well, I'm going to go do something else now. Goodbye. He was just not subtle about it, which I kind of appreciate. And so they have this conversation and Sam's like, oh, well, Dean was saying we're sticking around, but like we're not actually, like we're heading off. And she's like, oh, that's a shame. Like all of this kind of tension in the air. And I will say they have much better chemistry than poor Cassie and Dean had back in Route 666. You definitely felt their chemistry and you felt that kind of attraction that they had.
It's definitely... Yeah, they maybe they learned though. Like
they're having this conversation, and then Sam sees the painting and yells. And my note just says, "Sam, have some chill."
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He has no chill. He doesn't handle this very well. He panics.
His eyebrows are in space because he's so shooketh.
And she's very confused because he's like, "Wow, that painting's amazing." She's like, "Yeah, I think it's kind of gross."
Your reaction is not what I would expect.
What's going on? He's like, "What do you know about that painting?" She's like,
He gets angry very quickly. Like he goes from yelly, angry. It reminds me of like when you're old and someone turns the music up too loud and it scares you.
Yes. She means cat. She means when someone turns the music up too loud and scares Cat, specifically.
Cat gets angry.
Cat is the old person. He just has a full-on panic attack, which is very funny to watch.
Oh, yeah.
And
she's very confused, which is the correct response.
Yeah. Her reaction's very natural, which I really appreciate, of her being like, what's happening right now?
Did you have an aneurysm? Are you okay? Do you need your medication?
Mm-hmm. And so obviously this isn't over. He goes talk to Dean. They go to do some more investigation of this family.
And they go to, I believe, like a library, but this person, this fellow who was discussing the family history, I don't believe was a librarian.
He might have been like a local historian, maybe.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Like, he was bringing some like facts and figures. And I'm like, huh?
I would say maybe he's a local historian. My note just says, this guy is me, morbid and excited.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because he was very excited about, was it Ibrium?
Isaiah. Isaiah Merchant was accused of killing his wife, 2 sons, and adopted daughter, and then killing himself.
Yeah.
So that's the story.
Wife wanted to take the kids and run.
Yeah, apparently he was very like stern and very strict, which was pretty common in the times.
I was going to say, in the 1910s, I feel like was on brand for men. I don't know. It wasn't there.
No. And it was, so they were like, okay, well, maybe that's
the...
Like, obviously that's who is causing these murders.
But before we go back, before the boys go to the historian, Sam in his yelly, angry stage, i.e. me when someone turns the music up too loud, unprovoked, Sam is very, very stern with Sarah and says, do not sell this painting. I don't know how if I can be, like, clear, do not. And she's like, okay. And he's like, no, listen to what I'm saying. Do not sell painting. And she's
but she also says, I wasn't going to sell it because I think it's kind of in bad taste. We sold this painting to the family we saw in the cold open. Not that she said cold open, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. I sold this and it's come back to us.
And it's come back to us. She's like, I don't think it's in good taste to sell it.
I'm going to retire it kind of for, like, you feel like she's going to put it in a vault.
She doesn't want to sell it, but for other reasons.
Yeah.
And as they're finding out this information about Isaiah and kind of what happened, and they're asking for like copies of the painting to see if things had changed because they noticed there were some things that were a little bit different compared to what they had seen.
And what they had burnt.
Sarah's talking to her dad and her dad reveals that he has actually sold the painting anyway because he got a deal that was too good with that kind of money. Who could say no sort of thing, which is kind of gross, but
yeah, I mean,
you know. So we sorry. So we cut back and they're sort of looking at this painting. They're like the pictures of the painting, trying to figure out what to do. My note just says, Dean, get your shoes off the bed because he's like sitting on the bed reading with his shoes on the bed. I'm like, dude. So they are talking about what to do and they're not sure and they can see sort of some of the things that are different, but they kind of need to look at the actual painting to see if they can find more. And Dean is talking a little bit about Sarah and about
there's some obvious
tension there and you obviously like, and like Sam at first is like, oh my God, dude, like why do you care so much about me getting laid? Like, can we just chill out? And he's like, okay, let's have this real conversation.
I don't want to be disrespectful,
but this is clearly about Jess. Don't you think she would have wanted you to be happy? Which is what Sarah had said about what her thought process was with her mum and her mum passing away as well. So, you know, a bit of like mirroring there in terms of that. And Sam's like, yes, it is that, of course, but that's not all. And then he just is like, I refuse to tell you the rest. And Dean's like, okay, well, anyway. And I kind of like Dean's intentions are good. Like he wants Sam to be happy and he doesn't want him to kind of wait his whole life and you know, Jess is gone and she wouldn't have wanted him to be miserable and like
become a monk
in her honor sort of thing, unless that's what he wanted to do.
Unless that's what that was their dying pact. I don't know.
Yeah, like unless that's what he actually wants to do, but it's kind of clear that that's not exactly the intention. 22.
Oh right, that's right. That's what Dean's 26.
Yes.
Yeah, he's 22. That's You have children. You have hormones at that age, and he should not be sewing it up, as one would say.
Yes.
He should be soiling some beds.
Yeah, and so...
I mean that in not a dirty way, but I mean like he should be... No, I know, I realized...
I was just going to skate on by that one.
He's like, nope. That is...
We're not taking that detour.
No, we're not taking that
We just don't have the time.
We just don't have the time. But he shouldn't be so... Like, he shouldn't go down the celibacy path. But... We know there's something else going on, but we don't know yet.
Yes, so Sam's like, I don't want to talk about this.
Yep. And Dean just being on brand. Dean like, all right.
Okay, yeah, just kind of being like, okay, we'll come back around to this later if you want to talk about it. Which again, quite respectful of not being like, no, you have to tell me what your secrets are.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, regardless of that, you still need to call her because we need to figure out what's going on.
And we also probably should go see the painting.
Yeah, and so he calls Sarah and Sarah tells him that the painting's being sold. He obviously freaks out. They go to the house of Evelyn, who is sort of a family friend who's decided to buy the painting.
A rich old lady.
And we've kind of already seen her get attacked in amongst all of this. And so they're there and Sarah comes in. She's like, no, I'm coming in. I'm coming with you.
Can I just say, when we are seeing her getting attacked, I love that we see a straight razor through the glasses.
Yes.
And the CGI is
yes,
on point. Beautiful,
incredible, like really creepy. I think that's a lot of all of this sort of stuff kind of makes up for me of like the fact that it's the start I thought fell a bit flat with where you just see the head move. Like that's not
he does that again.
Yes.
In this particular scene. But then they added it with you just see her glasses are on a coffee table or a table, and obviously she was reading, so she put them down, and you just see like this ghostly, very quickly on the glasses, the straight razor. You don't see a hand, you don't see anything, you just see the straight razor. And I liked that. I was like, because at first I thought it was smoke, and I'm like, oh no, that's a razor. Oh, I like that.
Yeah, and I
Subtle,
really
but
sometimes they really get it right, sometimes they don't.
See, CGI small.
Yes. So they go in, Sarah comes in with them, and she's like, Evelyn, she's like, no, Evelyn's a family friend. Like, what the hell is going on? I don't understand why people are in danger. And like, yeah, this is so like genuinely horrifying that she touches Evelyn, and Sam's like, no. And then her head tips back, and obviously her
like
throat.
Like a pest dispenser.
Yeah, her throat has been slit. And it's really good VFX, really scary. Like,
I literally audibly like, ugh! That's what I did when I saw it, because I forgot. And then Joel's like, my partner said, like a pest dispenser. And I'm like, like that was my response.
Yeah. And so Sarah is obviously horrified, and she also sees his painting move, and we sort of cut to later, and she comes to the motel room. Sam is wearing the ugliest shirt. It's like brown and green and striped, and it's a lot.
2000s have a lot to say.
Yes, and she is freaked out, and she's like, why did I lie to the cops to say that I was the only one there, that I went alone, to like, what's going on? And, you know, they do the spiel of like, spooky things are real. We think this painting is haunted. My note just says, I feel like I've waited my whole life for someone to tell me I think it's haunted. Like, yeah, look, I feel like I'm always waiting for someone to be like, we think it's haunted. And that never happens to me. And she does take things slightly more in her stride than I think would happen in the real world. Yeah. Obviously, as we've talked about a couple of times, like they kind of have to keep things clicking along. And so they don't have time for her to spend 20 minutes not believing things. But she is like, okay, well, I'm coming too. We sold this painting. How do we deal with this? Like, how do we solve this problem?
Yeah. I also wonder if it's because she really likes Sam, and that because, you know, I saw on the Instagrams, you'll happily read a guy's like astrological like chart, but you won't read the red flags.
Yeah.
It's very much this, where she's just like, oh, this is obviously a red flag in the normal world. But everything else is ticking boxes, so I'm just going to disregard this massive ass big fucking flag of, he just told me that like ghosts are real.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to go and kill a painting. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's very much that. Again, it works because they have to keep, as you say, clicking the story along. They don't have 2 days for her to ponder and to stare at a lake and go, is he insane? Do I call the cops?
Yeah. And so they go back to Evelyn's house, they break in and they look at the painting.
I love that she's like, oh my God, we can't just break in. And Dean's just like, really? At this point,
like, this is your problem.
This is your problem.
And they're looking at the painting, and there's a fun little fact, which is at one point Dean, they've blurred the dialogue a little, so you can't really tell. But Jensen says Jared and not Sam.
Okay, I thought I heard that, and I just thought it was just me.
Yeah,
because you know how I often switch between the two.
Yes,
and I was like, did he just say Jared?
Yeah,
and Joel's like, no, he said Sam. I'm like, it didn't sound like Sam.
No, he said Jared, and they blurred the dialogue. Like, that's an established thing.
Cool, awesome, love that.
Because I don't know why they didn't reshoot it. Maybe they didn't notice or whatever. But yeah, they just like blurred it, so it sounds like he could have said either. But yeah, he says Jared.
Fantastic.
And so they're looking at this painting, and they realize.
Well,
they're looking at the actual painting because they broke in, and they're looking at the printout as well, and they see that the actual painting that's in the painting behind this kind of family figure is of a mausoleum. It's clearly their mausoleum. So they go to try and find this mausoleum, and they're kind of checking out a bunch of different graveyards. And Sarah's like,
Boneyards, apparently.
Yes.
And
I was like, Sam is like. Sam's talking to Sarah, and Sarah's like, so this is what you guys do for a living? And he's like, yeah, but we don't get paid
for it. And she's just sort of like,
okay, sucks for you.
And yeah, she doesn't even say anything. She's like, And I'm like, I guess it's a response.
Yeah.
But I also love that Dean is just in front of them, so he kind of purposely like walks a bit faster.
Yeah.
Keep subtly just leaving them alone.
Yeah.
Because like as teenagers, you would do that with a friend who was hanging with a guy, and you're just like, oh, we know, we're gonna, look over there, and you just you just leave them.
Yeah, you just like scurry off. Yeah, to give them time to
kiss.
Yeah, or to like, have private conversations.
Exactly. So
they go to the mausoleum and they're looking around, and they realize the dad Isaiah, whom they think is the murderer, he's not there, and so he must be buried, or presumably is buried somewhere else. Yeah. And so they go and Dean goes in to do some research again at some sort of county records.
Going back to the mausoleum, because that's where I like to live, apparently. I like that we know because we both like Ookie Spooky.
Yeah.
Like going in, like when I watched this for the first time, I was like, oh, this is on brand. Yeah, it's 1910s. When children died, they always kept something of like, and Sam describes, because Sarah's a bit freaked. She's like, oh, this is so creepy.
Yeah.
And Sam's like, not really. Like, this is common for this era where they would immortalize children with like a favorite item and a favorite thing.
Yeah.
And you see the urns. You see, you assume adults in the wall, but you see the urns of the children.
Yeah.
And then they realize counting, like, hang on, we're missing a body.
Yeah.
Cool, let's go find out where this body is.
Yeah, and they're sort of Sam and Sarah waiting outside while Dean goes in and
get some death certificates.
Get some information to find out about what's going on with Isaiah in incredibly harsh lighting. They're sitting. Lucky they're both flawless human beings.
Yep, with not a pore on their face.
So it doesn't really matter, and they have this very cute conversation, and it's all very like sweet and a little bit romantic.
I love that Sarah just like, you have to live your life. Like,
yeah.
You can protect me all you like, but I could get hit by a bus tomorrow. So let's live life now, because that's what my mum would have wanted. I'm like, girl.
Yeah.
Oh, love this.
And I think because this is where we sort of find out what Sam's actual fear is that, you know, he's lost two of the very important women in his life. He lost his mum and he lost Jess.
Yep.
And, you know, both of them died, you know, in some way because of his adjacency to them.
Yep.
And he doesn't want that to happen to Sarah.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want that to happen to anybody. And she's and she, as she says, like, I could get hit by a bus tomorrow. Like, that could have nothing to do with you.
That's
like,
how you live your life.
You can't live like that. And he's like, no, but this is like proper life and death stuff. Like, this is real stuff. And so I think it's really interesting that that's what Sam's actual fear is. It's not like not moving on from Jess and like becoming this kind of celibate monk who saves himself out of respect or whatever for or Jess, guilt. But like because he's afraid to lose another person, which is pretty rude.
Pretty rude. I mean, it's not a not feeling.
And Dean comes out and is like, not interrupting anything, am I?
He's so goofy. He's so goofy.
He's having a good time. And the reveal is that Isaiah was buried in a pauper's grave because the family didn't want him with the children who they presumed he had murdered. Fair call. Dean goes to destroy the body.
Yep.
Sarah's there to help. She's like getting the full tour of what their days are. Really?
Yeah, pretty much just like a work experience, like a work experience. Like, come along with this ride. This is what we do in a day. Day in the life of a hunter. Day in the life of a hunter. And so she gets to see them. They salt and burn the bones, and then they go back to the house because they're going to now destroy the painting. They assume that it'll stay destroyed now. And Dean's like, no. And Sarah's like, I'll come with you. And Dean's like, do you know what? I'm going to stay here. And then he starts playing romantic music. It's the most.
It's the most, and I kind of love it. I love that he's just like, I'm going to be so embarrassing, but she's not embarrassed by it.
No,
he's embarrassed. Sam's embarrassed. Sarah's like thinks it's funny.
She's just like, okay, mate, I see you, I read you. I'm going to not disregard you, but also I'm not going to play into this because I'm a confident woman.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what, like, I love that she's a woman, you know? I really
she's
appreciate
not giggly.
that.
She's just like, I see what you're doing. And I feel like she's actually older than Sam. Not by much, but I feel like she's like 24, 25.
Yes.
Where she's self-aware enough that she's confident. And again, it's pushed by the fact that she's lost her mum and she's realized that life is too short just to, you know, be giggly, like, she's very direct. She knows what she wants. She wants Sam, and Sam is being the coy girl.
Yes.
Not that he's being a girl, but he's being very coy and very like, no. And she's like, I'm not forcing you, but come on.
Yeah. And, you know, early seasons of Supernatural, how they write women, peaks and valleys. Peaks and valleys.
All I can say is that Brandy with a Y or an I is pretty much.
It's kind of gross and
note.
Yeah. So, but I do appreciate kind of that they've given this character a fair amount of nuance. They go into the house to destroy the painting.
Dean's hanging outside because he wants them to have some alone time.
Which, adorable. I love it. And as they're in this house, it turns out, surprise, surprise, it was not Isaiah who was the murderer.
A twist.
It was the little girl.
Yeah,
the little, the creepy looking adopted little girl.
Hence why he was looking at her in the photos. Oh, sorry,
Exactly.
I keep saying photos. The
in the painting, he's looking at her. So they get trapped in the house. Dean's obviously outside. He can't get in.
He's banging on the front door.
They need to find something to protect themselves, get some salt, get some iron. They don't have salt in the house because they're low sodium freaks, apparently.
Yeah, I'm like, who the fuck doesn't have salt in the house?
Low sodium freaks, apparently. So they're obviously trying to fight this little girl off. Everyone loves an omen child. Do you want to talk about why you don't want children?
Thank you, we're here.
Thank goodness we can finally talk about why Kat doesn't want children.
I mean, reason number 605. Because I always feel like I would give birth to a demon child.
Right.
And I don't know why I feel like that, because it's not like I'd let the devil inside of me. But also, I have a fear that I'd give birth to a child that would have very dark hair and would just creepily stare at me. and then and then I'm dead. Like, this child is giving me I'm like, she is a very pretty child.
Yes.
Minusing the ghost looking thing. She's a very pretty child, but she's definitely giving me a lot of the Omen. I think there's another movie. I think it's like a Orphan. I think it's called Orphan.
Yep.
Orphan. Great movie. Couldn't remember. I was like, adopted? I'm like, no, Orphan. It's given me a lot of ooky spooky. Also, if she just wet her hand through the hair of her face, she's the ring child.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of grudge. There's a lot of she's giving a lot. Also, I did love the fact that she had a blue sash around her. I did like her outfit.
Yes, very cute.
Very cute. Which, again, plays into the whole murder thing.
So they are in the house. They are under attack by this creepy girl. They manage to find some iron from the like poker for the fire.
Yep.
And they're kind of fighting her off. And
I love when they're fighting her off, she's like whisper, like woof.
Yes,
woof, like flashing in and out of like ghost devil form.
Yeah, and I mean, yes. And Sarah sort of they're like, well, what's keeping her here? Like, she's already been cremated. And Sarah's like, the doll, like dolls at that time were often made in their actual image, including their hair.
Yeah, or including some, yeah.
And I really appreciate, again, that she's got some use, if that makes sense. Like,
she's got some knowledge, like some common unknown knowledge of.
Yeah, she's contributing to the story. Like, she's
not
just
screaming.
She's not just a damsel in distress. So I really appreciated that.
I also love that Sam brushes her aside.
Yeah,
like, it's the doll, and he's just like, "That's great, that's great, Sarah. This is not like the time for like facts about dolls." I'm like, "You shady bitch!"
Very I love sassy Sam.
Oh yeah, I was like, "You shady bitch, you."
Sassy Sam is great.
But she's like, "No, with the hair."
Yeah,
and then he's just like, "Oh, continue."
And so Dean goes back to the mausoleum to try and destroy the doll. They're fighting the little girl off.
Yep.
And he's in the mausoleum. He's like trying to use his gun to like smash
the perspex.
Smash it. It looks like it's perspex. It doesn't look like it's glass.
It should be glass.
For the time period, yes. Like these days, it would be perspex, but at the time, it would have been glass. But it's not working. So he goes to find something else, and then he realizes he has a gun.
Yeah.
And so he shoots it out. And for me, this is such a reference, but like it reminds me a lot of Jumanji. I don't know if you remember where the two kids are like trying to get an axe out of the woodshed.
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
With
like, Peter.
With Peter, and
he's using the axe.
He's using the axe to try and he's
chainsaw.
Trying to get it to get the axe, and he picks up the axe, and then he's trying to hack, and then he like looks down, looks at the camera, and then runs back inside. And it reminded me of that where he's like, I have a gun. So he shoots it out, he grabs it, and he burns the doll, which
the doll hair first. And I'm just like, which is what we need to do.
Yeah.
But also the smell.
I thought that as well. I'm like, that would have smelled absolutely disgusting.
But also when he shoots the glass, my brain just went to like Bugs Bunny cartoon where they shoot something and then it just bounces off and just goes ding, 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 ding. My brain just went there. I don't know why. It just did. It obviously didn't happen.
No.
Physics.
So that destroys it. Sam and Sarah survive. The next day they're back in the estate place and they're packing the painting up, and they're like, where are we taking it? And she's like, yeah, the back to burn it. And they're like, what? He's like, nope, not kidding. And they're obviously saying goodbye. Dean makes a discreet exit once again, though he's like, oh, I just burned the doll. Don't worry about me. Just saved your life. Like, don't thank me, which I think is very...
He's so sassy about it. I'm like, mate, you've done bare minimum. Like, yeah, you've done the thing, but you have wanted her to hook up with your brother, and now you're getting pissy that she's not
Yeah.
going to give you a kiss.
Well, I think he just wanted her to thank him.
Yeah, just
I
like
don't think he was like angling for some.
Oh yeah, true.
snog.
Yeah. Actually, yeah.
I think he just was like, don't even thank me, which is, you know,
On brand for
just
Dean.
Standard Dean, like very moxie. You know, she's like, well, do you think you'll come back? And he's like, no.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not, well, not like that. Like, it's
Yeah,
very
he's
like
very much,
heartfelt
like-
and.
He gives it like he's like, no, like
Mhm.
we've done our job. Unless you want to get some ooky spooky hanging up around here.
Yeah. I do also like the complete lack of the plot hole being filled of like this little girl is just evil and she killed like the psychology of that is suspect.
Yeah, I like how
like they're like, no, she was just an evil child, and I think even Dean's just like, well, I don't really care because the ghost is gone now, and I'm like, cool. We'll just never resolve that.
yeah, we'll go back into like a couple episodes ago where I can't remember the episode, and you'll probably read me for it, and that's fine. But it's an episode where we go back and it's a doctor, and the wife's had an affair with the doctor. I think it's a similar. It's the mirror episode.
Yeah, it's Bloody Mary. So the Bloody Mary episode where we got unnecessary exposition about who probably
this doctor and about
murdered
how
this woman.
she had an affair, and
yeah,
we got way more detail about these characters we never met.
Yeah,
yet we've met the protagonist in this episode.
Yeah,
yet we know nothing about her. We know that she was adopted. So the implication is that she may have murdered, may have been a horrible child, may have been at an orphanage. We don't know. She was adopted, so you make the assumption.
Well, she was adopted because her parents were found dead in their bed.
So you make the assumption
that she murdered her parents and then murdered her other family, and she was just an evil child.
She was just an evil being. That's the implication.
Which is psychologically
unlikely unless, she was dropped on her head, potentially, because that's a common thread for serial killers. Not that turns you into a serial killer, but what happened for her to then kill her parents?
Yeah.
Like, what's her origin story?
Exactly. They just don't bother to plot
it?
To fill that plot hole, but I did kind of appreciate Dean just being like, I don't care.
Which is
the writer being like, I don't care. Yeah. I got to write a ooky spooky omen child, and I'm not going to give you any more information.
I'm gonna let you, the viewer, mind wonder.
Yeah, fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
And so they leave. Sarah's sort of forlornly leaning against the door.
Yeah, not even a kiss.
And then Sam comes back and they have a snog. And I'm going to ask the question that I asked with Route 666, one of the little games that I play in my head. Do we think they're good kisses in real life?
Yes.
This looked like a good kiss.
Look, when he walked away, I was about to go up and get myself a drink, and then I realized that they were camera was slowly getting close to the to Sarah's face, and I was like, "That's a weird close." Oh, hey! It was not awkward. It was. I feel like there may have been some offset chemistry, if you know what I'm saying.
Sure. You mean off-camera chemistry?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah,
because if there were sparks and they were visual, we'd be seeing a show.
I think
they're very good kisses.
In real life, yeah.
I think like we said this episode of 666 or Route 666, Dean and the other actress are probably good kissers.
Yeah, but just not kissing each other.
But just not them together.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't know. I think it's when they smile, it was all very genuine. It wasn't forced. It wasn't disingenuous. There was undertones and overtones, and there was a lot of things. It worked.
Yeah, it was a good kiss.
It was a good kiss.
I will say, and Dean's kind of like looking on and smiling, but I feel Jensen's good enough of an actor to make this not weird.
Yeah,
because he's smiling in his
scenario.
Yeah, it's not him being like, oh yeah. He's
he's not rubbing a nipple or anything. No.
No, it's like because I think the thing that tips it for that it's not creepy is that his smile goes all the way to his eyes. Like he's smiling, he's smiling with his eyes as well as with the rest of his face. And it's a very genuine smile of like, good. I'm glad that you're trying to get past the stuff that's holding you back.
And I'm proud of you, young bro.
Instead of being like, oh yeah.
There's also a little bit of the little oh yeah, like get it, son. Yeah.
It would be creepy potentially in another actor.
Oh,
but I think Jensen takes it to past that into being like,
Yeah.
yay, I'm so happy that
It's
you're
like turning a caramel, but he's pushing it just a little bit darker.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
Yeah.
And not burnt.
Yeah.
That's
exactly. And that's the end of the episode. And just to continue a trend that I think I've started in terms of spoilers, where I try not to spoil things unless they are irrelevant to the plot going forward. Sadly, this is the end of the romance of Sarah and Sam. Thank you so much for listening, guys. If you want to hear from us on the social medias, you can follow us on Instagram at We Will Talk About It Pod.
Yes.
On Twitter at We Will Talk Pod. You can email us at wewilltalkaboutitpod@gmail.com. Show notes for the podcast are on wewilltalkaboutit.com. If you want to, if you're able to, please leave us a 5-star review. The actual rating is more important than the actual words. So if you just want to leave us a rating, apparently Apple cares more about that than the actual words that you use.
Brand.
But if you want to leave us a nice review, you're more than welcome to. I just understand that time is of the essence for a lot of people.
Tell a friend.
Tell a friend.
Tell a family person.
Yeah, I mean,
family person.
Tell a family person. A person of your family.
Yeah,
we're starting to head a little bit towards the end of the year. We're starting to get into the situations where you might with your family and might want to talk about what podcast you're listening to.
You know, tell a work colleague.
Yeah, exactly. But in the meantime, stay safe and don't buy creepy paintings.
Definitely.
Bye, guys.
Bye.